Hello, guys. Operator Starsky here, and as always, I'm very happy to see you tonight. Um, Big thanks to everybody who managed to get to our stream today. And again, we have a very special guest. I hope that you can hear us well. So, uh, hey, buddy, welcome to Starsky Time. What do you think about the name of the show, by the way? Is it cringy enough,
Starsky time?
or
Yeah, I think it's
yeah,
cringe, dude. I think it's super cringe.
or should I
Like
work
we
harder?
I think you should definitely work harder. Like we have a discussion like last stream I made. We called it King of Cringe, not King of Cope.
Yeah,
But then
yeah,
people started shitting and saying, "It's like, dude, like I don't get it. Like, why is this matters?" And it's like, okay, let's just then propose what you will, and then I'm gonna look through it. And now there is a post, and there's like 200 or 300 comments. I'm kind of go scared to go through all of them, but I will have to very soon. And then we're gonna select. So I basically dumped it over on my community, and they're working on it. Usage of
yeah,
resources. By the way, hi chat.
yeah. Hi, chat. Very nice to see you. We have uh, 419 viewers already, which is a lot. It's like more than a battalion, and yeah, Starsky time. Madeline, it's yeah, Starsky time. Uh, so there was a comment that we only have like 720p. Добрий вечір, Дніпро. 720p. Unfortunately, I'm not connected to the Starlink, and unfortunately, I'm like we're streaming from Ukraine. I hope you will understand it. So, buddy, say hello to our viewers and say a couple of words about yourself.
Hey chat, hey everyone. You don't know me, I don't know you, so let's get to know each other, like right where you're from. That would be pretty cool. I myself am from Latvia originally, so I'm like one of the Baltics, or how we like to call ourselves now in this situation, the original Nazis before Ukrainians came and stole our glorious like history, if you can say so. Not very nice, but I've been living for almost 10 years now in Denmark. I moved here to study, and yeah, and then I think my Twitter handle describes it the best, the accidental YouTuber, because like after the war started, I just started following the news, what's happening, what's going on, and so on, and just by the nature of how I am as a person, how I think, and so on. Like one of my biggest strengths that makes money for me and my family is the fact that I can gather and process enormous amounts of information. And this allowed me basically to get all of the sources about the war, what's happening, watch every video, understand every news, and so on, and like figure out what's going on, and then explain it to my colleagues at work. And then those colleagues ask me like, can you give me an update in the evening or something? Like we're working right now. And then instead of writing text messages that became kind of like wall of text because a lot of things were happening, I started recording videos. And then at some point I just popped the public button, and then for some reason Starsky decided that my videos are okay, and since then I have a lot of people that are following me. Well, a lot, like I mean, everyone that's passed the first two is a lot for me, and that's pretty much the whole story. I'm a guy on YouTube. That's pretty much my notable characteristics compared to your other guests.
That's a great characteristics because like you're doing a decent job. And by the way, so you were like the first Nazis in Russian.
Yeah.
Yeah. So currently, according to Russian media, like everybody is,
Yeah,
except them, of
that's
course.
kind of makes us not special.
Yeah, like so we have this third battalion in our brigade. It was attached for us. It was attached to our brigade recently, and it's basically a voluntary battalion. And there is a an African Ukrainian. Um, so he showed this screenshot of like conversation with the Russian troll who called him a Nazi, and he was like, "Dude, do you realize that you're calling black guy a Nazi?" He's like, "Whatever." Anyways, I wanted to ask you, were you watching the United Nations assembly yesterday?
Yes and no. I was watching it on like 3 times the speed. And before I start talking about something else, is it okay if I address with a couple of words in Ukrainian?
Sure, sure.
Sure. Скажу лише кілька слів українською. У дитинстві у мене була велика мрія. І це гарно поспілкуватися з людиною, яка опіздювала дуже багато русні. Таким чином, зараз мені дуже приємно бути тут. От тепер я можу відповісти на твоє питання.
Bro, you deserve my respect more and more every day. Дуже дякую тобі, і дуже приємно бути твоїм товаришем.
Yeah. United Nations. I actually kind of stopped watching it, like on like, how do you say, with my brain turned on for a while now, probably from 2017, because in 2017 before 2017 there was this Churkin guy that was sitting there, and he was super memeable. He has this weird haircut. Yeah. Where he has like completely white hair, and like he would make these faces that people just grabbed for memes everywhere, and it was amazing. And then he just died, and I was like, okay, well, what now? And then they got Nebenzia, who is super boring, so I was like, okay, doesn't matter. And from there, it just kind of like, because the message was always the same: Nazis, 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 Nazis. They're killing, they like preparing to invade us. Donbass is suffering. It's always the same. Like the message itself is kind of boring. Right now, I'm mostly fan of this. What's his name? The Konashenkov guy.
Oh yeah, yeah. Infected birds.
Yes, like I gotta say, the fact that he can say any kind of dumb shit with a straight face is impressive. I think he can become easily a multimillionaire. Like just make like a website where people can send whatever random stuff to say, and he just says it with like a straight face, and he's just, there we go. Like this guy made millions. It's just completely nice, a lot better than UN ever be.
You have to be a military to learn how to do this properly, because like we all have the skill of saying crazy crap like with a straight face, but you have to be Russian to be able to say like craziest crap, like genetically modified birds. Oh my god. But like, how do you think, are they people who believe in this, like for real?
I mean, didn't Putin believe in this? Like, I'm pretty sure the whole thing was because he did, because he is literally into that state of mind where they made their propaganda, then the propaganda starts spreading, and then they also like, hey, this actually makes sense, dude. Yeah, it's like, like Dumb and Dumber. Like he and I don't know whether it was Dugin or someone else, they were just sitting together. Hey, maybe Ukrainian was never a country, and they're like, yeah, maybe it wasn't. Like, and that's how I imagine was the strategy plan for invading and capturing Ukraine, because I don't know how it could have been otherwise. Like, because like literally everyone knew it, and everyone just understood like Putin as this great strategist that was thinking 5 steps ahead, playing 13D chess right away, putting the troops around Ukraine. Everyone's like, okay, so he's gonna pressure Europe right now and there's the gas, and then he's like gonna go into this United Nations Security Council to get additional members with the veto rights. And it's like, nope, he just fucking invades.
I have no words. Brakuje mi słów, as my Polish friends say. Oh, okay. In your opinion, why Russia is still a member of the United Nations? I mean, like a member of the United Nations, the Security Council, who has this right of vetoing. I mean, like, not like they invite representatives of like ISIS or Taliban very often.
I mean, there is a short answer and there is a very long answer. I don't know what chat wants, but the short answer is nukes. That's the shortest answer I can give. The long answer, I think that the whole kind of idea of Security Council was just kind of like, yeah, I mean, the West was in this paradigm, and a lot of the people in the West still are, and about a third of my community still are also coming from these people, despite everyone is like thinking, yeah, of course, now we see everything how it is, but they still have this paradigm that Russia is basically a continuation of the Soviet Union, that they think that the Soviet Union, yes, it kind of fell apart, maybe some countries separated, but they didn't consider it's an end of this empire. It was just that the Soviet Union consisted of a lot of moving parts, and a lot of that perception was, well, it's Russia. Russia is big. Soviet Union was big. Therefore, Russia is Soviet Union. Only without like some of the countries. And for a longer time, even these countries were not perceived as sovereign nations, such as Ukrainian position was for a longer time only consistent considered in relationship to the Russians. And for Baltics, obviously, it was also a challenge. But the Baltics, because they joined the major other bloc, like they had it coming. But now, if we look at, for example, some other nations, like I can add to my chat about, well, in Tajikistan, and they're like, what the fuck is Tajikistan? And that's pretty much how it went. Like what other nations you're talking about? There is Russia, and there is like gray zone.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that was also in a sense perception in the Western speaking community, including the United Nations, since there's never going to be an opponent to the world order, then might as well be Russia, like just so they are, like. And then I think it's also one of the reasons why this mentality of, oh, we just need to please the Russia and then it's going to be fine. We already won the war, right? We won the Cold War, so we just need to please the Putin, so he's a little bit like, so he gets along with whatever he does, because we're the West, we're the strong one. Like, never it's going to happen anything like this. We need to think about China now. It's like, well, so that's pretty much the longer answer. It's just that West got complacent. We celebrated basically, and thought that never again means that we just need to put some money for the dictators on their table and they're going to be satisfied with the money. The problem with Russia is that they took that money, put propaganda on table, and then they started believing their own propaganda that they did with the Western money.
Sounds completely plausible. And by the way, we have a question from Maurice Walker. What are your thoughts about all the Russians who have now been successfully mobilized, aka fleeing the country?
I mean, not all of them can flee the country, as far as I've heard. I've heard there's like plenty of restrictions. I mean, it's expected. There was literally just three options. Option number one, Putin surrenders and like, okay, I'm done, which is a little bit silly. Or he decides to kill more Russians, or nukes. And nukes are kind of, I would say, off the table, because he pretty much knows that, despite how deluded he is as a maybe person or a thinker, he knows that that's pretty much going to be the end of him. And then the only thing is mobilization, because mobilization is what the war party inside of Russia has been advocating so much for. I think it was even like, okay, you want mobilization, there you go, use them, there we go. It's like, because he does not care about the Russian population at all, and they're just eating it up. They're scooping it up with every yeah, more of that. Yeah, come on. And now they're just like, they're gonna hit the wall at the border. Well, some of them at least. Like some of them obviously will get, like, I don't know, they dress as a woman, take some watermelons from Kherson, put them inside of their shirts, and it's like, no, it's like, it's Russia. We never have transgender in Russia until now. So
Yeah.
I guess there's going to be more cross-dressing in Russia happening in coming days.
Yeah. Plus
can check statistics for that.
Yeah. Plus they can prove, because like they have no walls. So I wonder, what do citizens of Denmark think about this war, and are they showing support to either side?
It's a hard question to answer because obviously I haven't spoken to every person in Denmark. But from at least my surroundings and what I feel, and I do talk with some that are just common citizens in Denmark, is that we obviously support Russia. Like Denmark is one of the least corrupt countries in the world, and it comes basically to a lot of two very, very important kind of characteristics that are very prominent in the Danish society. One is the trust to each other, so the trust in society, trust in the system, trust in government. And the second one is kind of like, well, if we trust our government and trust each other, then that trust is also kind of built in a law. So some kind of law of obedience that kind of is derived from the trust aspect. And in that sense, I mean, declaring of war is probably one of the biggest breakers of trust that one can imagine, both towards Ukraine and also towards Denmark. Like there was a lot of the kind of like, how, why would he do this? Like they said that they never will attack. Like it's some kind of naivete. Yeah, one of my thing is like, yeah, but they cannot be that naive. Well, a little bit. It's
Yeah.
just because how the people are. And then second one is obviously what was happening around Bucha. That was completely inhumane. That was just completely sickening to the stomach for a lot of the people. After the photos and pictures came out, pretty much it's like no go. Ukraine all the way, and this is how it is. Like Danes are not very vocal about their support. Like they will not have maybe a lot of flags flying, but all in all, they will obviously support Ukraine with a caveat that they will hope to end this war as fast as possible because it's also a very peaceful society. So the war is not really a thing. Like the solution for like violence is not a solution for problems here. So whenever there's going to be an actual possibility for negotiations, I'm pretty sure the Danish society and Danish government, as a reflection of Danish society, will put forward a proposition that we should probably try to negotiate. Like not really, how do you say, don't make Putin lose face, but if there is going to be a reasonable possibility for negotiations, they will at least support it. And I mean, Zelensky asked us to rebuild Mykolaiv, so we might start doing that.
Oh,
So that's
sounds nice. Sounds nice.
yeah,
And
and a lot of people.
I completely agree on that. Violence is never a solution. I completely agree as a military, because like there's absolutely nothing beautiful in war except for the guys who are born for this job. But there's nothing beautiful about it, and I will go to Bucha tomorrow. I still have like a bunch of footage that was made um, in in April, probably in the beginning of the April when we arrived there, and I don't think that I will ever make it public because it's like, I want to make a big
Actually,
shout. Yep,
well,
yep.
do the shout out. That's more importantly. Like you mean, you invited me here because you did a shout out. So now important shout outs. And who doesn't subscribe is a smelly Russian. Ha!
Nice. I couldn't say better. So guys, big shout out to our mercenary moderator Janine. She deserves all of your respect, and yeah, she already killed a bunch of trolls. Also, I highly advise you to subscribe to Ukraine Matters because it's important. Because good guys gotta stick together. Yeah. So you were saying?
Yeah, I actually have a question for you. Like you've
Yeah,
been
yeah, sure.
asking me a lot, but I actually prepared some questions for you because I'm a serious guy on a serious YouTube channel about Ukraine. But yeah, obviously, my channel is very much also with some humor, despite the heavy topic. But I think it's also very common for Ukrainians. I mean, your channel has literally skits of humor about the war, so that's not really an issue here. And I wanted to ask, like, on the 31st day of the war, you actually made a video. I think it was in Ukrainian, and you actually did a promise. You said that I think it was UFA that banned Russia from participating. You
Yeah.
said, "I'm going to start watching football." So did you? We're going to hold you to your word.
Uh, uh, like not like I don't watch football, but I literally don't have time for it. Like if I had time, I would watch football and blame myself for not making like reports or videos or skits or like perform my duties. So I hope that this counts as an excuse.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So one
Can I
thing.
have another question?
Yeah. Yeah.
Please,
Yeah.
another one.
Yeah.
Now the serious one. So, Belarus, like a lot of times, like when this conflict comes in, is discussion about, well, how different are Russians and Ukrainians, especially with the protest and mobilization recently. And we see that Russians are not really reacting in the same way that a lot of Ukrainians were reacting, for example, during the Maidan revolution. Like Ukrainians are a lot more active. Belarus, it's a very interesting topic that doesn't get covered in a sense of the war, because Belarus is very much split. If you will agree with me here, at least in my perspective, that there is a society that is very much freedom-loving society. We've seen great protests that they did last year, and then there is Lukashenko, who is an absolute dictator, absolute monster, who captured a lot of the protesters and actually tortured them. There's a lot of videos and visual and other proofs documenting that. Why do you think Belarusian society, despite being such a freedom-loving, apparently with such big protest, never kind of radicalized to the point that they started fighting for their freedom, like Ukraine did?
Probably because we have a different experience. Because Ukraine is a cradle of partisan movement, basically. We were fighting against Russians for centuries, probably, and we had all kinds of partisans here. Some some of them make us proud, some of them make us ashamed, but we know how to do it, and probably because of that we have this different experience. Because if you see protests in Russia, it's uh, the public, the guys just standing around some guy that is being beaten up by police, and they like make videos. Yeah, yeah. Like in Belarus, they had a very strong protest a couple of years ago. Very strong protest, and actually, we would even kind of expect something to change. On the other hand, they never had this realization that it's wrong. So I saw one of the guys from this regiment, this Belarusian voluntary regiment, and he said that their biggest regret about that protest, and the guy was among the organizers of this protest. He said their biggest regret at this point is that they never took arms, they never fought back. And now we see what we see, like Belarus supporting Russian army and letting them shoot missiles from their territory. That's something they regret big time. I hope it answers your question.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, like I just need to know, because despite us in the Baltics being very close, we never, like, we're very different in the sense of culture. And my wife, she's Ukrainian, for people that don't know. She explained that it's like this has been very close always relationship with the Belarusian people. Maybe it's also for her because like she comes from the region which is just north of Kiev on the border with Belarus. So maybe for her specifically, it's very, very close kind of subject. You can say this question was very much for also her sake a little bit.
Yeah. There's a question from Flash. Have you heard from Sergeant Jane? I did, and I have like a small announcement to make. So she will get promoted. So she will not be sergeant anymore. Fortunately, or I think fortunately, because she totally deserves that. So she's studying, and I completely support that. Again, as for Belarusians, one of the things that we have in Ukraine is that we can self-organize without leaders. Like, we don't need them. And I saw it myself. I saw it working during 2 different revolutions. And it was like for real, because Ukrainians are quite naive, and we always let different politicians like tweak ourselves. But at the same time, because we are naive, we believe in beautiful things, and those beautiful things like freedom, like democracy, like just sympathy to your friend who is like being beaten, and you just cannot stand aside. They make us united a lot, and that's why we don't need like commanders, or like, we need commanders, yeah, but I mean, like, generally, we don't need like leaders to lead us, because we have something that unites us, and it's something inside. So yeah, I'm not very closely familiar with Belarusians, unfortunately, in this regard. Probably they have some their own national skills that they will show during this war, because they are very, very brave warriors. They are crazy. They are brave warriors.
All Ukraine needs is some charismatic, what is it, National Guard press representatives.
Probably. I don't know. I don't care. So buddy, I have a question from level 70.
Oh,
He's our frequent viewer, and
same.
he asks, how do you verify your information about the front lines when there is so much disinformation or unconfirmed rumors going around the social media?
I confirm sources first and foremost. So the easy way to confirm a source, it's basically the same that like we did in academia when I was studying. You make a prediction and then you check if that prediction works. That's as easiest as it goes. If I, for example, like I find a source, and if that source describes some situation, I then see if he is predicting something that's maybe happening in the future or that I didn't know about. Like, for example, this city has been taken. I go to the deep state map and I see, nope, that village is red. Why would he say that? Then oh, village is now taken by Ukrainians, for example. That was a correct prediction. Then he says, like, oh, there is heavy fighting in this area. And then day later, there's a video coming up of some like really intense firefight. I was like, oh, that was a prediction. So it's basically trial and error. So when you just consume a lot of the information, you find some of the sources that are mostly correct. And if you have maybe 15, 20 sources that you're gathering information from, and if you verify those slowly but surely, and then you get, for example, 10 to 15 verified sources, and if at least, for example, 5 of them state that like certain village has been taken, or there's a heavy firefighting, or there has been Ukrainian forces that are pushing towards that direction, you already can kind of understand what's happening a little bit, because you have A, trusted sources, B, they multiple of these trusted sources are already spreading some kind of a movement or activity that you can analyze and deduct, essentially. Well, induct, but from it. I hope that explains just a little bit.
Yeah, sounds nice. So according to, for example, military culture, military science, according to like our field manuals, you gotta always have 3 different sources of information to confirm something or disconfirm something. What's Starsky drinking? So it's like, guys, it's like there's a joke. You can drink, for example, coffee at your job, and the advantage of cognac is that it looks like coffee. but it's a Coca-Cola. I'm not calling this name a lot because I'm still not sponsored by this great
Yes.
bringer of democracy. Yeah. Does
Yeah.
it take a lot of time to manage your channel?
Um, it's a very interesting question. Depend what you describe as managing channel. I mean, making a video is not that hard. Editing is really the hard part. That's
Yeah.
when where what takes the most time, because making a video recorded, that might be, like half an hour. My wife goes for a run, I can record a video, because, well, I don't really live in a big fancy apartment, despite how fancy and loud it feels, because my subscribers always tells me your microphone sounds like shit, because like you're sitting in a bucket or somewhere. And but when my wife is out, then it's when I can record some kind of video or something. But editing, preparing, like writing a script, because usually it's happening like this: when I'm at work, I'm working, and then I'm like, when I have like a second, I'm scrolling through my channels or videos, or I'm sitting in my headphones when I'm writing some kind of, like presentation. I'm a corporate rat, like, so I can just make a presentation, I can do some kind of research, whatever, like, write to my boss, email some guy and say, like, hey, should we have a meeting? And before we have a meeting, I can put my headphones on and listen to like all of the news that are ongoing right now. And then I have my WordPad essentially open and I take notes. Then in the evening, I come back from home, I open my notes, and then I go verified, unverified, verified, unverified, verified, unverified. And then I have some kind of ideas, what I can talk about, what I can explain, where it's like I open them up, where's the movements, where it's happening. And then my wife is like, okay, I'm running today. I was like, yes, time to record. That's
Yeah.
pretty much my channel in a nutshell.
Yeah. Yeah. As soon as wives are out of the house, we can usually do random
That's when the
our
fun
little,
starts.
yeah, our little secret things. uh yeah. And by the way, we have a um very interesting question here. Do you think the mobilization will make Russia stand up against Putin and cause a political clash, judging from like what happens there now?
I think everyone and everywhere in the world really wants to believe that. Like, I think that the easiest answer that anyone can give is like, yes, at some point it would definitely will, because this is, like, it's like, yes, like, come on, they cannot be that dumb.
Surprise.
And and I really want to say that yes, but I've been proven wrong by the Russian society for so many times. Like, even right now, like, when you see all of these people chanting out and like coming in, it's like no to war, no to war. It's like, stop doing that, start making molotovs or something like this, like go and burn some kind of a distributors of these papers, or do anything, like go put some explosive on a sled, something that's just hard to track. Like, Russia is vast, you can just go do something. And okay, resistance is hard, I get it, but we're past the point where it was okay to just stand and clap. So, as much as I want to say that at some point it will, I am afraid that it might come to the fact that just they will never find where their balls are, and they will never drop one. Like, if I just put multiple of these analogies in. So I really cannot say that I believe in it.
Mm, I support that. I support that. The people who could do something in terms of like revolt or clashes with the police or something, they are all in Ukraine right now. They are fighting for the Russian Liberation Battalion defending Ukraine. And yeah, on one hand, I'm happy that they are here. On the other hand, as soon as all the let's call them like active, like politically active Russians flee outside of, out of Russia, it's not helping.
Yeah,
It doesn't.
and this is my problem with a lot of like people on my channel already know I have a big issue with the Russian liberal opposition because how stagnant in their thinking they are, because they're still trying to, I don't know, the mobilization is ongoing, and they're still going to be probably advertising for participation in elections for some kind of a governor somewhere in a rural district in Russia. It's that at this point already now with the mobilization, when Putin is saying, I'm going to kill this many people, basically, because like we know what's going to happen with the Russians, and that's even not taking that they're going to kill the Ukrainians. And he says, I'm going to kill this many people, and the Russian opposition states to like, good, those 300 that came out and clapped and that was very nice. What they should be saying is like, hey, we got in a contact how you can join the Russia's Freedom Legion, for example, in Ukraine. This is how you can join for the resistance movement. Like, reach out to us, like, because they have the network of people inside of the Russia. Like, they've been like, one of the things that the Russian opposition has is a network of people where they know someone else who knows someone else that they can, turn up to. So if they actually turn it to like, like actual resistance movement, they have the connections. They've been having connections through this whole 20 years, but they don't want to, like, because they're like, still is like, no, we need to peaceful protest. It's like, to which extent? And this is what I'm saying. It's like, until they get some kind of a switch that's like Ukraine, like when the missiles start flying in Ukraine, everyone knew that at that moment already is like no one is going out for a peaceful protest. Like that's the time to go grab a Kalashnikov, and this is the time to essentially throw some Molotovs at the tanks. Like, I saw some of the videos, like, the famous one where the couple of people inside of a car were just driving by
I remember that
vehicle
one.
and just throwing a Molotov cocktail, and they fucked up with that because like half of it was spilled inside of a car, and like they cut the video at that moment. But I actually noticed that. So, but it was kind of ridiculous. So that's why what I'm saying is like, Russians still think that they have a way out. Like, especially the opposition, they still think that this is just gonna go away. They don't want to take responsibility. They don't want to turn this switch on, and that is the thing that's pissing me off the most.
Yeah. There was a question from AK Crowat 74, my good buddy. How do you compare Ukrainian volunteers to Russian conscripts as far as training and mobilization? So, Ukrainian volunteers are basically like, imagine a guy who wants, like, literally has this desire to go to the front lines with his weapon and kill Russian invaders. This is his main motivation. Like, he already decides that. Russian conscripts, so like, go outside. There's like, you will see like a bunch of teenagers, right, watching TikToks or playing World of Tanks. That's like basically Russian conscripts. They're like kids that don't decide and cannot change much. It's like pity to improve them, so to say, with our weapons. So yeah, like, they are not motivated whatsoever. Um, and that video with the Molotov cocktail, by the way, I think like it was one of the earliest ones. Like, I saw it probably during the first or second week of this invasion. It was hilarious.
Yeah. And I can answer the question like a lot easier and shorter. Just like the person who asked that just need to Google Giga Chad, and that's pretty much gonna answer you how Ukrainians are comparing to, well, anything. But I think there's an interesting comment that I want to address. It's Chris B. He's saying that maybe Ukraine will let more foreign fighters in now. And the problem with the foreign fighters was not that there were no foreign fighters. The problem were that a lot of the foreign fighters that came into Ukraine had no combat experience. I was contemplating on the fact that I should probably go, but I'm a fat fuck. I don't know how to fight. I don't never been in the military. I don't know how to do anything military related. I would probably fire from the wrong side of Kalashnikov if I would get my hands on it. The problem was exactly the same. The foreign fighters that came into Ukraine, many of them just were regular Joes that just didn't know how to do it, what the war is, and so on. This is not what Ukraine needed at the time. Ukraine needed regiments that would be able to be autonomous and so on. There is a lot of like, not a research, but like there is a lot of shit that is given to foreign fighters in Ukraine because they've been, basically Ukrainians have been using their resources not as smartly as some expected, because they were just sent to the hot spots and they needed to figure out how to fight. But this is how Ukrainians operate. Starsky has been telling you this for a while now. Ukrainians know how to self-organize, how to be creative, how to adapt to the situation. And Ukrainian command was expecting the same from the foreign fighters. This is not what they received. It was a semi-organized group that, yes, they were talking in English and so on, but that was about it. So that's the problem with the foreign fighters, not that there is not enough of them.
Yeah, the problem with this war and the foreign fighters was that this war required highly trained guys. And I'm not only talking in terms of their experience, because actually in some cases their experience was like something that ruined everything, and they literally went home, because again they were expecting uh, air support, artillery support, I don't know, you tell me. And when they arrived to the front lines, like during first months, when we had nothing but men in trenches, and they were shelled every day, uh, they were like, how the hell do you fight? I mean, like, are you, do you have like those suicidal tendencies or whatever? And our guys are like, yeah, this is how we fight. So they were kind of disappointed with that. They didn't expect that. The problem was that you had to be so tough to do this job psychologically. And I'm not saying that all Ukrainians are so tough, but I can totally tell you that we have no choice. It's either we give up and die, or we can die, but there's a chance we can win. So yeah, we gotta take the chance. A lot of guys that are fighting now, they have this required skills, these mental skills, and at this point we only enlist guys, like, again, from what I know, we only enlist like the best of the best, those who have like true combat experience, those who have like all the skills, motivation and stuff, and they are the best of the best. And also uh, I have a question from Pani Lohinska. She asks, Russian protesters against mobilization are being arrested and conscripted anyway. What does Starsky or Ukraine Matters think about their level of urban combat will be like in Ukraine? Like, can you imagine that?
No joke. I actually, like I made some notes, like what questions I could ask Starsky if it gets too stale. Like you go on a first date and you don't know what to talk about, and you just kind of awkwardly look at each other, like, oh, I don't know. And one of the questions was actually like, how do you feel like the conscripts? Like, how do you feel that will they be able to fight or not? Because I feel that they not really. Like, I feel that they're gonna send the first couple of 100,000 just to kind of slow down the Ukrainian advance, and then the next ones maybe they will kind of train or something. But yeah, it's very hard to underestimate, because this is something that Ukrainian command has been pretty much saying all the times. We need training. We need training. We need training. That's why they're looking so much for this training that the fighters get in the United Kingdom right now for Ukraine. But you tell me, Starsky. Like I'm not completely sure. This is outside my expertise.
So imagine the other day you got up at your house, you fried some eggs with bacon, you opened your PC and met your online friends over a session of like World of Tanks, for example. And it's your normal day. This is your normal life. You're a teenager, you have friends, you do what you like, you have fun, right? You're having fun. At some point, uh, they bring you this повестка, right? This paper that says that, guy, I have bad news for you. You have to say goodbye to your PC, waking up in a warm bed. You have to say goodbye to your World of Tanks, probably like your cell phone as well, your family again, and like basically all your life. It's like effed, okay? And then you are going to those barracks. Of course, you will have like a new haircut that looks a bit like mine, um, but mine is like voluntary. Uh, and you receive a new haircut, a new uniform that barely fits you because, like, you know, um, there's always f up with the sizes in the army and stuff. And then there's also like you are like you're a nice guy, you're smart, you have some, I don't know, some classes of education and stuff, but the guys you're serving with, they barely speak Russian because they come from Buryatia or I don't know, and uh, they make those, you know, funny pictures when there's like Dagestani warrior, and on the background there's like a bunch of Russian conscripts with letters written on their butts, and it writes something like "Dagestan is power" or something like that. Um, and you have to spend your time in those in this, you know, environment which you hate, and then you're told that you're actually heading to Ukraine to fight. And you're like, okay, what do I know about Ukrainians? Oh, Ukrainians are fighting since 2014. It's longer than I have my PC in my home. It's, yeah, it sucks. You don't want to go to Ukraine. And when you arrive to Ukraine, the only thing that you can dream about probably is to give up to Ukrainian army and get sent to directly to your uh, Великий Устюг or whatever the hell he lives. So this is what I think about the conscripts. Like, they die a lot. I can tell you that, unless they give up. We have this bridge that goes over that crosses the Irpin River. It's a bridge between Horenka and Irpin when you go to Hostomel. At some point, their whole column was burnt there. I have like videos from that bridge, and oh my god, there were so many conscripts just like burnt to ashes. It's like it's a pity to kill them, actually, not like uh, we are restraining ourselves from doing that. Oh no, because Ukrainians are very, very dedicated killers in this regard. We like what we do. Like, we make ourselves like what we do, especially when it comes to defending our country, except against whatever, whoever. The secret that our soil is so fertile is because there's like so much of those invaders down there in the soil for centuries, guys. So yeah, we like to defend our country, and we do that with all the dedication, no matter who stands against us. So Yeah, they probably know that. And of course, I think that today they saw all the videos available on a YouTube, and I know that they know exactly where they are heading to.
I have a follow-up question to that. Do you think the Russian opposition that's now going to get to the war, do you think they're going to yell no to war to Ukrainian grenades? How effective do you think that will be?
I haven't seen a grenade that has ears. Probably does, but I doubt that. So it's like, again, you had to do something when you had a chance. It's not like you will always have a chance to go on a street, grab your Molotov cocktail and throw it at Russian police car or not, Rosguardia, whatever. No, it's freaking too late. You're coming to Ukraine to die. Um, so like my only hope is that they will help their comrades to make a right choice again, because Ukraine offers state protection. Ukraine offers good food. Our Ukrainian cuisine is so much cooler. You know what I'm talking about. So yeah, so that's the answer.
I have a comment that I need to address. It's a question, but the nickname is just top notch, so I cannot just let it go. The Moskva the Sinkable is asking, why isn't Zelensky buying nukes? And I just thought it was a very good composition to put forward. But Zelensky isn't buying nuke because Ukraine is very heavily dependent on the supplies of weapons from the West, and West doesn't like when countries have nukes. That's just a thing that's like a small thing trigger for them. Unless they're Russia, then they're like, oh, Russia already has nukes. Well, then let's just be afraid of it.
Yeah, kind of.
And they don't want to be afraid of Ukraine, so that's kind of the thing.
Like, guys, we don't want to make our partners be afraid of Ukraine. It's freaking stupid. Like, it's the stupidest thing that we can do at this point. Believe me, because at some point we evolved to this understanding that we have a chance to turn all the world into like our friends, our mates, and we will use this opportunity. I give you 100%. Bro, I have like a small unexpected uh, like not kind of question. Yeah, can you hold our audience busy for like 2 minutes? Like, guys, don't drink too much Coca-Cola, okay? I will be back.
Okay, chat.
Yeah, tell them about your upcoming video.
Oh, upcoming video. Well, I mean, it's already been delayed video. But chat, now is your chance to trash talk, Andrew. So use that until he comes back. Let's try to discuss how better we can improve this channel with what kind of a name for the show. Like throw in your options. I think Starsky. What is it? Starsky talk that he's saying. Jesus, that was pretty cringe. But the video that I'm going to be working on is about why Russian army is shit, because it is. And I recorded it actually. Then I was editing for long. I don't make jokes. I'm actually really bad at jokes. And then Putin declared mobilization. Oh, that was a joke. Wasn't a good one. That was a good joke. Putin declared mobilization, and everyone believed him. And then it turns out it wasn't a joke. And that's pretty much how it went. But yeah, so yeah, what I was talking about, I don't know, I'm getting all over the place. But the point is that we are making some good videos on our channel and people are watching it. Starsky is watching it. Subscribe to Starsky's channel. Subscribe to everyone's channel that was here. What else YouTubers say when they need to fill in the gaps? Like I'm not really a good YouTuber. I'm an accidental guy.
You gotta, I don't know, make some joke. For example, uh, if you want to make fun of your favorite streamer during his podcast, you can ask him to stand up, because like I give you 100% that he has no pants.
You just did.
I came prepared today.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you
Operator
gotta
Starsky.
remember that.
Where does the name Operator Starsky actually come from?
Uh, so I have this call sign, Starsky, in the army, and like I was known as a like Starsky in Ukrainian media field and among my friends. Why I decided to call my channel Operator Starsky, probably because I do videos, so I operate video camera. There's also a very famous American YouTuber called Donut Operator, but his nickname is just too gorgeous to So
I have a
we
quick
also,
comment that I must address
yeah,
again.
yeah.
Sorry. AJ Lahinska asks, I like the mobilization joke. Your bar for jokes are very low. You need to work on that.
Okay, okay. So we have another question. Uh, do you have friends in Ukraine that are currently fighting at the front line? And the reason I'm asking is because you probably have some sources in this field.
Yeah, I have both friends and family. Over years, I made a lot of friends. Like first time I came to Ukraine in 2013, but even before that, I already had some people kind of over internet. Like I'm a nerd. Like I think people can tell. I've been playing computer games and like chatting with when I was little pretty much all the time. Like whenever the cool kids play football, I was sitting at home and just sitting looking inside of a screen. Where then until my mom came over and yelled at me, "Stop sitting at the screen all the time," and then I would say, "Shut up." Then I would get my ass kicked, and then I would have to go out and play with kids some football, and then I would be like weak and useless. And then I turned out that actually, if you know computers and you think about things, that actually pays a lot of money in the modern world. So I also got a pretty okay career and went to academia and so on. But the point is that I got to know a lot of people from Ukraine as well. Well, obviously, I was chatting a lot of also with Ukrainians and Russians, and that was when I understood the difference the most, because it was so stark, it was so crazy, and I always got very much better relationship with Ukrainians. And a lot of these people are right now on the front lines, most probably. But I know some of them, and obviously, my wife is Ukrainian, and some of our family is also on the front lines. It's actually quite a story because my wife's family is from the Chernihiv region, which is, as I explained before, is right on the border with Belarus. Well, if your memory is just a little bit longer than a goldfish, you remember this is where the Russian forces came through at the first phase of the war.
True.
And a lot of my family was actually stuck back there inside behind the enemy lines. And they were doing things to try to kind of survive, and they were telling us how they're using all the sneaky roads, because Russians were as dumb as we were expecting. They were just using mostly the main roads. So if someone was using a forest road, they would be like, "What is this like mystery? Like what is this magic? Like how can you go through the forest and not through the main road?" And basically that's how my family that is living in Ukraine also was navigated. But when the Russians was kicked out, some of them also said enough is enough, time to enlist, and now they're within the forces. So yeah, I have both the family and friends that are fighting in Ukraine.
Yeah, your family living in Chernihiv. So we are basically what we call in Ukraine zemляки, because I was born in Chernihiv region as well.
Yeah, but you said it's very hard for you to answer the question, where are you coming from? I watched the video where you say like, time to introduce myself. And then you're like saying like, well, I cannot actually tell you where I'm from because it was so hard, because my father was military. So we traveled all across Ukraine and so on. So which is it? Choose it. Are we Zemляki or are you just Ukrainian
Like
traveler?
we are, of course, like, because when you're asked like where do you come from, it's basically you're part of this like country or a city that you love, or I don't know, that is dear to you. And I cannot say anything like that about those places where I lived, because I was forced to live there. But I live most of my life in Kiev, probably.
Chernigiv is actually. I'm gonna again go on a rant. I told you before the stream started that I don't know when to shut up. So my personal tragedies with Chernigiv. So Chernigiv got this new mayor guy. For a longer time, Chernigiv was a city that had very shady history, a lot of like things not going as well as people would like. And then two things came together: a mayor that somewhat cares for the city and is also interested in promoting his own business because he owns like a cement factory and some restaurants. So two things that are very helpful for the city. And with the fact that after 2014 there was a big reform in Ukraine where kind of local governance was very much handed over, so local cities they got a lot more budget available to them and didn't have to essentially beg for the centralized power to give them money to kind of make some kind of investments. So when this guy came into power, he actually started investing quite a lot in Chernihiv and trying to, and slowly over the coming years, Chernihiv started to shape itself out as a big difference from the surrounding cities, like except for Kiev, obviously. And it became this touristy place where you can go with pretty cool restaurants, nice roads. There was reconstruction going on all the time. Our last visit was before, like last year, and it was really shaping out very interesting. They had some interesting solutions for how they made bus stops, solutions for some kind of a traffic for bicycles and so on that Kiev cannot even dream of. Because in Kiev, the bicycle solution for traffic is just take a pedestrian lane, put a line in the middle of it, and now you have a bicycle lane and a pedestrian lane. That was not the same in Chernigiv. They tried. Like some of the solutions were still raw, but they really tried. And then Chernigiv got bombed to hell. And
Yeah.
all of that fancy work, all of those interesting solutions and buildings exploded to smithereens. So that is my personal tragedy of any cities, I guess, right now in Ukraine. A lot of people are also very personal about Kharkiv, but for me, Chernigiv was the one that I've really cared about a lot, just because
Yeah.
I knew how beautiful it was becoming.
Yes, I'm here because I liked McDonald's in Chernihiv very much. And my Max basically comes from Chernihiv. My second press officer, he comes from Chernihiv, and his parents live there. And he said that his house was damaged as well. Luckily, everybody is alive. Um, we have another question from Sean Edwards. What should we know about internal conflicts between Russian army, Wagner Group mercenaries, and Kadyrov Chechen fighters?
That's a part. Watch my next video. I mean, like, why would I tell you the contents of the next video? But okay, long story short, they don't have a general conflict like we need to kill Ukrainians. That's kind of understandable. That's they more or less agree on. But they have a dislike, like maybe not like Wagner with Kadyrovitz. Like I think Wagner is just like their thing on their own. Some of the people are saying that the leader of the Wagner might be the next president after Putin is basically taking off. Like he's kind of the representative. He's super Nazi, by the way. He has like Nazi tattoos and everything. Just Google it. But the biggest conflict that is within Russian army is between probably like Rosgvardia and Kadyrovцы. That is because Kadyrovцы, like the ones that are reporting to Kadyrov, are actually technically a part of Rosgvardia, technically, but they're a very much autonomous unit that are essentially belonging to this warlord. And this warlord, for a longer time, like essentially spit so hard on any kind of Russian laws and what they want. And then he would like their Chechen fighters that would come and they would break the laws and inside of Russia and then shit on any kind of Russian identity inside of Russia. And whenever the police tried to do something about it, and police, this is the Rosgvardia, this is part of this internal security force. Then Kadyrovцы, they would just be sent to Chechnya, where they, instead of being trialed, he would say, "Well, slap you on the head, and here is a medal for you." And that create a lot of internal tension, like this internal struggle for power. That they're like they had like an axe to grind against each other. So as far as I remember, from the start of the war, a lot of the positions of Chechens were actually sent to Ukrainians by the members of Rosgvardia and FSB, which are the internal security structures of Russia. And Wagner doesn't really have a conflict, but there is a potential conflict that might be. It is between the leader of the Wagner and Putin, because he's actually with this actually mobilization of the prisoners, he's getting a lot of clout for it. Like, because he put it in a way, like, I know we're making jokes in the West, and it's like, well, Russia is doing so bad, they're even doing prisoners. In Russia, prison culture is a whole another level. Like, it's very hard to explain it in one video, or even multiple videos. It's just something that is just like going throughout the whole country. In a lot of the places, like, criminals, like, essentially in the small kitchen talks, are often referred to with some kind of authority. So with the guy that has some kind of prison sentence and is now able to mobilize prisoners to essentially do good for the Russian people, as they put it, is actually getting a lot of clout. So he is getting really popular. And some of them sayings, like, if he's going to win, especially when you compare the Wagner group and what they're achieving compared to any other forces that Russians are throwing at them. And I'm not even talking about Chechen fighters as the TikTok warriors that they are becoming a joke here in Ukraine. Here, I mean, in Kharkiv in Ukraine. That puts Wagner group pretty much at a spotlight. That's what I can tell you about it.
Oh my God. I found a crazy picture. Just give me a second. I'm telling you, you're gonna love it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's something unexpected and completely insane. Just 1 second. I'm trying. You can see the screen, right?
Yeah, I have it on my.
Yeah. Okay. So where is it?
Oh my God, I'm so fucking ugly. Holy shit.
It's normal. It's normal. I mean, I don't blame you, guy, bro. It's like
you know the worst part of this streaming? Listening
yeah.
to your voice. I hate it. It's the worst thing ever. Like, whenever I'm editing, half of it I'm editing with like sound turn off. I still cannot get over it.
It's normal stuff. That's the reason why I make this metal core, because yeah, my voice sucks, but I can growl like a god. Not really. So check this out. You gonna freaking love it. If I will be if I'll be able to. Yes. So here it is. That's what you see here is Steven Seagal with Kadyrov himself.
Steven Seagal.
Oh my God.
Does he has a carrot? Does he have a carrot? I cannot see the picture still. Did you send it over somewhere? Because I'm looking at the stream, but I don't. There we go.
Yeah.
It
It's
appeared.
like in the stream.
Oh my God. Oh, they're almost holding hands. There's like, this
Yeah.
is, remember analogies for the first date? This is like the
Yeah.
first date, kind of like touch a little bit. It's like this, like in the movies, like, oh.
This is amazing. I'm gonna definitely leave this picture right here, just because it's so cringy. They actually look good, I think.
I mean, how you usually put it, there is a way to make them better.
Yeah, there's always a way to make them better, but I think, like, I feel some kind of chemistry. Oh my God. What's your opinion on Steven Seagal? How do you think, will they kind of mobilize him?
I mean, they already did. He's part of the information warfare. Like, he came to the war crime in Olenivka. Like, he was there, like, after, like, they didn't let any kind of like a foreign journalist or like a expert group. Well, until now, I've heard recently that they're like considering, it's like, hey, maybe we should put some kind of foreign expertise group to then consider if this was a HIMARS strike or not, like what was like a month and a half later. And then like there's a video with Steven Seagal just like, yes, this looks like a HIMARS strike. I've seen my fair share of HIMARS strike, and then he's snacking on a carrot. This is definitely one of them. It's like that's Steven Seagal in a nutshell. And I actually have again a personal story for Steven Seagal. So for a while, my mom has dated this guy that she met in prison. Don't ask. And then, so the guy she met in prison, he then scammed her ass of the money. Thankfully, it was proven not guilty in the court. But long story. Ask me my own personal stream. I'll tell you. But the point is, this guy was always like kind of walking around the apartment with like essentially just his underpants on, and he has like had a huge belly. He's one of those fat types, fat lazy asshole that he was. So I was like a little fuck. And he was walking around the apartment. He was always watching the Steven Seagal movies, and he was like, "Yeah, Steven Seagal is such a macho." He's like, and like whenever I think about Steven Seagal, I always like have this image of this fat fuck trying to make some kind of moves, and I just see like like slow motion fat like belly just boom, boom, boom. That is my image when I think about Steven Seagal. That's kind of the analogies.
Oh my God. By the way, we have our friend Ryan, Gendit Commando, who was with us yesterday. By the way, very nice to see you, buddy.
Thank you so much for the stream yesterday. It was very pleasant. Like, I'm really, really, how do you say, blessed with the fact that I'm able to appear on the same stream that some competent people appear compared to me. So that's definitely impressive.
Yeah, it was nice. So by the way, we are roasting Steven Seagal again because it's like he completely deserves that, I think. Yeah. So
I actually have a question that
Yeah.
I must ask. Like, I'm sorry that I interrupt you, but this is important because this is a Patreon question. You can understand me. So on my Patreon, I asked people like, do you have any kind of questions that you want to ask Starsky? And they said yes. And one of them that is really relevant, and it's a very nice guy. Like, I'm really answer this question as much as you can. Like, from before the conflict began and onward, Russian propagandists have been madly spinning the truth. Are Ukrainian counter-propagandists meeting the challenge in winning? It was questioned by Grits Ivasyuk.
So, in my opinion, before I answer this, so Ryan says, "Hello everyone, good to be here. Operator Starsky and your guest today is a great person. We should dedicate a podcast to the roast of Steven Seagal. Definitely, like I would roast him for like a couple hours with big pleasure. Yeah. As for your question, we couldn't be good rivals with Russian propaganda. First of all, because we don't do propaganda, and if we do, there's people like me who hates it. I don't support that. You cannot fight propaganda with propaganda. It doesn't work. And another thing is that they had just too much money being spent on propaganda. I'm not only talking about their propagandists like talking shit about Ukraine, about like Nazis, America's puppets and stuff like that. I'm talking about their musicians, their artists, and etc., etc. They have this very strong mythological design in every video, in their every product. This this subtle nostalgia for USSR in like every movie, in every I don't know, article, publication, video clip, like music video. They have a lot of that. And on one hand, you can ask yourself, like, come on, it could be like a coincidence, or probably they like that stuff for real. No, it's designed this way. they have a lot of. So we should dedicate like a different video to this because it's a big topic and it's in my field of interest and profession.
Would you be interested, like, I usually make videos where we talk about it. Would you be okay appearing in some of my video where we actually make a prepared video where, for example, we talk about the propaganda? I'm just using this platform to invite you for this. And now you
Bro,
have no chance to say no, probably.
bro, you do understand that I have to do this. Like, I cannot tell you no. Or, like, yeah,
Yeah,
you don't,
perfect.
you don't even have to ask me. Just type me like when's the
I
next
mean,
time we go online, and yeah.
I gotta leverage my position here somehow. Like I'm making a fool of myself already. But while I'm making my fool of myself, I know people who are not fools and who knows and can fight propaganda, and they're doing an amazing job. So I want to give a shout out and a big thanks to NAFO team, everyone
Yeah,
who is posting memes and shit posting all over Twitter. Guys, you did what the Western intelligence have not been able to crack for years, like even since Soviet, because a lot of the current Russian propaganda has been developed from the Soviet times. Like this whole whataboutism or white noise, it's been like, there's been multiple names for it. You can Google whatever propaganda evolution. The problem is this has not been cracked for like almost 70 years right after the Second World War. And a couple of meme cartoon dogs found a way how to fight propaganda. Shit posting and memes. It is so simple and it is so genius. And I love you guys because like you cannot take Russian propaganda seriously when underneath you just get like a lot of the comedy stuff or complete nonsense. That is like you cannot just look at it seriously, and that makes people then not look at the posts and the comments, but they are forced to essentially go to the official news sites. It is genius. I love it. So shout outs to all of the NAFO fellows. If you're doing a great job. And I really hope the CIA starts really sending you some money. Like this is about time because you solved what they couldn't.
it's worth that. Yeah, it's absolutely worth. And I completely agree with you. They're doing a great job because they found this um, very efficient approach to the Russian hearts. Because you see, a lot of Russians have this inferiority complex because they might not have a nice toilet or like a laundry machine, but they think that they have the strongest army in the world and they can kill anybody, and that's why they believe that they're supreme. And when NAFO guys start, cracking it up and showing like the essence of this, just how ridiculous it works, they're doing a fantastic job. I haven't seen so many burning rears. I'm talking about Russian trolls for like years uh, before NAFO was conceived. So yeah, they're great.
I actually have a follow up to that, like what you just said, not the NAFO stuff, but you said about the Russians and so on. Like one of the thoughts that just kind of hit my head last thing, and I'm probably sure there are philosophers that discuss this, but I'm not a philosopher. I'm a guy on YouTube. Subscribe. But is that from childhood, the Russians pretty much have been told that they're like living in the greatest country in the world, that they are already the great nation. Look how big Russia is. Even like thought it was supposed to be technically a democracy. They were still like, oh, we have this great history, like all other nations and so on. Do you think this is something that has to do with their complacency and ability to believe essentially propaganda and not kind of questioning because they just already think that they are the great nation, so they don't need to improve or change anything? They're the descendants of the victors.
Yeah, they were raised this way. Uh, because again, propaganda exists in Russia for more than a century, and they were literally raised this way. There were generations that were born in this propaganda, and for example, in Ukraine, it took more than 30 years and a war to erase all those results of Russian brainwashing from Ukrainians, from our memories and souls and hearts. I literally have no idea how much time it takes for Russians to get rid of this crap. Uh, but you're completely right. They think they have this. On one hand, it's like a inferiority complex. On the other hand, it's like a superiority complex, because Russia is the greatest country in the world. They have the strongest sportsmen. They have the biggest army and military, and they have those vehicles that have no analogs. Uh, every time I hear like this analog нет, it's like every time I remember this robot Boris.
One of the questions that I was contemplating to asking you, actually, like on my list, is that like, what would you feel if you would ever see Robert Stepan or Boris ever on the battlefield, like randomly, like yelling, it's like "die meatbag" or something like this, just running towards you? How would you feel? Or
It's
that
hard
dog with a
it's hard. Yeah, the dog. So like, if this robot is gonna have that dog besides him, I will just lay down and die. I swear. Because like I will understand that this life is so effed up that it doesn't even require my presence. Robot Boris.
robot voice.
Yeah, that's where
Uh,
probably I will live forever, because like I doubt that we will ever see him or his little dog on the front lines in Ukraine, as well as like three things that you will never see on a Ukrainian battleground is like Armata that is driven by Robot Boris with his beautiful little android dog.
yeah, I'm
with
looking
with that
forward to
with
this.
that with that grenade launcher attached to its spine. Oh my god!
That was the most funny one. I love that. I really love that.
Ah,
A question actually about the war and post-war, like something I was thinking about. Like I obviously think a lot, and I already know a lot of things. Like what's going to happen to Ukraine after the war? But have you considered what would the country look like after the war is over? Do you think like Crimea will stop becoming autonomous and become part of the unified Ukraine? What's your take on just generally Ukraine after war?
we will spend a lot of years rebuilding. That's for sure. I see Ukraine as a big country full of different construction companies from all around the world, and full of beautiful people who come to Ukraine in order to help us rebuild. And like we we weren't a monocultural country. We had plenty of other cultures and nations here, being part of, like being a single people of Ukraine. But I think at some point we will have just so many friends from all other countries, and that will be great. Absolutely, we will be rebuilding. So I see all those, those construction cranes and stuff, and yeah, endless columns of trucks with like building materials and beer, of course. uh so yeah, as for Crimea as like part of unified Ukraine, not an autonomous state, uh let's face the fact, Crimea was it always belonged to Crimean Tatars. It's their motherland. It's, you know so I don't think that it's bad for them to be autonomous, like they always were. They completely deserve that after all they've been through, after being like, deported from Crimea in 40s, and after this those new fascists invading their land, and all those repressions. They totally deserve to live in in their home. Um, and I think in like 5, probably 10 years after this war, we will be prosperous, we will be thriving, because we will have so many friendly countries to trade with, to share everything we can share, um, in terms of like science, in terms of goods, in terms of music, in terms of anything. So yeah, I think that every European country will benefit from supporting Ukraine, and of course Ukraine will benefit from that. And actually we do already, because we are alive.
That's fair. That is fair. Cool. Chat is exploding with questions. Let me
Yeah,
pick
by the
one.
way.
Maybe you can. No, you pick one. I asked the last two, so.
Okay, I will pick one. Which is the most?
Slava Ukraini. Yes.
Героям слава. Okay, should Ukraine keep some of the almost totally destroyed cities like Mariupol as a memorial to remind future generations what Russia has done? Asked by dictator Huilo. Um, I love this nickname. I sincerely do.
Uh, Internet sometimes is funny.
It's an amazing place. I think that we probably we will have some towns, some places that saved, preserved for our future generations, because we should always remember the past to make sure that it will not repeat in the future. I think that the best reminder about this will be like a huge pile of Russian tanks just in the middle of, I don't know, in the middle of Kiev, for example. Just big pile, just like a pyramid of those destroyed tanks and vehicles. In my opinion, it's absolutely amazing, and it will be a great reminder for everybody.
Yeah, like one of the biggest differences for me when I first visited Ukraine, and my first experience was around the town of Zhytomyr. That was our kind of first stop after entering Ukraine with a car when my first visit. And the thing that I noticed there, big difference that wasn't in the Baltics, is the monument to the Russian T-34 tank, because at that moment there was still a lot of Lenin's and other
Oh,
Soviet communist memorials. It was before the after Maidan decommunization happened. And the T-34 tanks was kind of telling. It was in the center of the city. I think this is where you need to put the burned, essentially Russian equipment as a part of Ukraine as a nation that protected itself against the probably biggest evil of the 21st century, that just decided that it's okay to go back in time.
probably we should pick a better place for the reason that there's not enough space to pile up all of those tanks. I
Maybe
know what.
shouldn't.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. We should pick some big square, and it must be big.
As all my friends from Kharkiv says, they have the biggest square in Europe, which is exactly, and they have been missing a monument for a while now, since the Lenin was essentially taken down. Like, so Kharkiv, for everyone who doesn't know Kharkiv, there's this square which is massive. It's huge. It's a huge empty space which is being used, to be fair, it's being used by different fairs, and like there's a skating rink during the winter, so it's pretty nice thing to have a square in town. But the point is, at that square, it kind of has a couple of roads that go along it, and then there is kind of circle, and before that circle starts there was a statue of Lenin that kind of overlooked this whole square. After 2014 and after the protests on Maidan and so on, there was also protests in Kharkiv, and they took down the Lenin statue, which was a big symbolic moment that was kind of like, for me, essentially realization that people in Kharkiv are not Russians. They maybe are more leaning towards being Russian speakers, but that was a big kind of click for me personally to see that those are also Ukrainians. And since then, because the mayor of the city was very much also leaning towards a pro-Russian side, he first said that we're going to replace Lenin to that monument again. So they just kind of closed it off with like a net. But because of the pressure from the people around that town, they didn't put anything there. Then he died, and then the other guy took over. Or no, yeah. Then the other guy took over. But the point is, it never produced any new monuments. So now there is just a postament with no monument on it. And there is a huge square, and the only kind of thing that to remind what's happening, there is actually part of the missile that is sticking inside of this at the end of the square, but at the other end of the square.
Yeah. I have two questions. What can a grandma do to help Ukraine? And in my opinion, we all can do something to help Ukraine. First of all, I think if you have access to internet, you obviously do, you can post supportive commentaries. You don't have to send missiles to Ukraine if you don't have them, but you can definitely send words of support to Ukrainians, and that counts as well, because it's a big boost to our morale to see supportive commentaries on the internet, for example. And I'm honest with you, because we should not stand aside of this. Worst thing that we can do is just pretend that nothing happens, pretend that we're neutral, we are above all this, we are not interested in politics. And and this is when the criminals know exactly that they will not be punished and they can continue doing what they do. So there's plenty of things. Probably in your town or in your city, in the place where you live, probably there's like some organization that helps Ukrainian refugees. Contact them. There's plenty of them at this point. So that might help. And I have a question for you from Roger H. So how do you think, if Russian protester arrests were staged to discourage citizens from protesting, because the arrests were way too peaceful and too many photographers there? I want to know your opinion, and because I have something to say as well.
Google Russian protests from previous years. It's the same. It's like my biggest criticism is exactly because they're doing the same shit that they've been doing all the time. Like, just Google protests that happened like last year, year before, well, I'm not sure if they happened protests the year before. Like, Russia is not very well known for their protests, let's put it this way. But like, take 2000, I think it was 12, when they had it's called Bolotna Square protest. Yeah, and Bolotna Square protests are like supposedly, as the Russian liberals are saying, this is where when Putin took over democracy. And I said, like, your guys are super slowpokes because you couldn't realize that before. So, and you will see one thing, that they're doing exactly the same shit that they're doing right now. That's what my answer to this can only be.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree on that, because this is what they always do. This is how Russian protests look like. They have absolutely no sense and no planning and no meaning. They don't even have to protest, because we all know the result. In Ukraine, for example, we realized one thing. If your country is ruled by force that doesn't support democracy, that doesn't support freedom of speech, then you cannot achieve any result with peaceful actions, peaceful democratic actions of peaceful protests. They don't work. peaceful protests work in a democratic country when you can gather million people on the streets, and the president will be like, oh, so probably we should change something. People are, worried. In case your country is like a Russia or Belarus or Ukraine 2012, it doesn't work this way. There's force that completely despises your freedom of speech, your opinion, and democracy in general. And you cannot achieve any victory, any result against this power by just peacefully protesting like in any other democratic country. Sorry, it doesn't work. So I'm telling from our experience, because we had to face that, unfortunately, in 2013 and 2014. That's why the reason why I like didn't believe much in like Belarusian protests, and as well as those Russian protests. Like Navalny got arrested. First thing he did was he made a picture, he made a selfie in this police car, and he's like, whoa, look, I'm arrested. And he was lucky, of course, because he had like teeth, his fingers weren't broken. Yeah, he wasn't shot, for example, or just like brutally beaten up. His kidneys were functioning, so yeah, he was lucky, probably because it's Navalny. But I'm talking that in case you're facing a force that doesn't recognize anything, like the civilized approach, that doesn't care about your opinion whatsoever, because this force only cares about like power and your money, your taxes, and they only think how to rob you even more, from what we see in Russia, right? Your peaceful protest will not work. Believe Ukrainian experience. Have you heard of the Russian artist and activist Yelena Osipova? If so, what do you think of her? I I don't think that I've heard about her.
I haven't heard of her, but like Russian activist is an oxymoron. Like I would rather see Russian like what is it? It's not pacifist. It's like passivist, I guess, or something like this. Because like Russian activists, like activists for what exactly? Like activists, Russian activists is exactly what we already talked about 3 times. I will not repeat myself, but doesn't work, doesn't produce results. Do something else. Molotovs, try Molotovs.
You have to, bro. You have to say it with Russian accent. They will understand it better.
I don't know how to make Russian accent.
Do something. Molotovs.
Сука, делайте молотовы.
It was hilarious. It was hilarious. And you have to register this Russian pacifist as, you have to have a patent for this word, because it's hilarious.
If the world frees Navalny, it doesn't solve anything. Like Navalny is exactly like he's gonna come out of this prison. Like he came after, is like, yeah, guys, I got this prison. It was the hard sentence. Where's my "Нет войне" poster? Like no to war. That's the problem. Like no adaptation. Like everything changes around them, but they are like a time capsule. They're like, oh, we just need to go out and clap and post selfies how we're walking, and then post it on Twitter, and then other Russian liberals will pick it up on Twitter and then share it between each other and say, look how brave Russian people are. And then half of the people in the West, wow, they're protesting despite this awful regime, they came out like Khabarovsk, like people on my channel, like I still as like, and they're like, wow, 2 people came out of Khabarovsk to protest. What a country! Wow, they're starting to oppose this government. It's like 1945's Germany, but they are telling this way. It's like it doesn't work.
As for the Molotovs, I recall beginning of this invasion. Can you imagine a police officer with a grenade launcher, with a freaking RPG-7, and Kalashnikov, of course, but like Kalashnikov, everybody has a Kalashnikov in Ukraine, like with RPG-7 and like military helmets and military vests, because there's like police vests and those that have military purpose, on a checkpoint, and beside this police officer there's like a big box of Molotovs. So, like, some memories I just cannot, they will be with me forever, because it was so cool. It was the best picture I could ever see. Like, it was my police officer, exactly like the way I imagine him. He was completely part of my people, and we had the same, basically, in our fortress in Kiev. We had Ukrainian National Guards. Again, National Guards have different uniforms. We have the like olive uniforms. We those National Guards who operate in the city, support police and stuff. They have like blue uniform, and they all had Kalashnikovs, knives, Molotovs, and stuff, and they were ready. They were, come on, we are waiting for you. Those things are so much inspiring. I mean, that's part of our history, by the way. Okay, let's move on to some more questions. How do you think why we don't see new videos from Bayraktars? Or
I mean, that's quite easy. Bayraktars, well, there's two answers to this. Like the first one is the obvious one, that Bayraktars, because they're slower drones that don't have the altitude to be completely invincible. They're like kind of mid-range drones, and they're still a big target. It doesn't really work. So for them to work, either there needs to be some kind of local air superiority, or there should be completely dumbass enemy, like the first part of the conflict, where just didn't deploy any air defense systems at all. And then we saw videos of Bayraktars roasting the air defense systems, which is an oxymoron when one thinks about this. Or the second part of the answer is that Ukraine finds ways how to exploit and fly Bayraktars into the territory that is controlled by the Russians. And then they don't want to post videos to not bring essentially the awareness that Bayraktars are able to scan certain areas and maybe navigate HIMARS strikes or something like this. So those are the two major answers. But the point is that it's a drone that is good, don't get me wrong, but it's a good drone that becomes excellent when you have air superiority. Right now, we're at the stage where drones are used as like a, how do you say, like a dispensable supply. You fly a drone, if it gets hits, it's fine, you just send another one. That is not the niche that Bayraktar operates in. It's quite expensive.
yeah, absolutely. We have disposable drones at this point.
That's just the word.
Yeah, yeah, they are expensive, but they're disposable. The quadricopters are being used by our squads. They're being used on a level of a platoon, for example. But we are losing them quite a lot, quite often, unfortunately. Not because we don't know how to operate them, of course. It's because of radio electronic warfare. They get intercepted, or they get just, their brain, their brain is burning, or they are getting shot. As easy as that. Um, and as a person who shot a drone, I can tell you that it's definitely possible. It really is.
Yeah, Starsky in one of his videos, it was Ukrainian. I don't think I saw him talking about it. He actually has this whole story, apparently, as far as I've heard, that he was like the only one in his squad that shot a drone, but I don't know the details. So, what's the details behind you shooting a drone? Why is it so important?
I was the first in my brigade, actually. So it was in 2017. I think a lot of people know the story. I don't know. It was in 2017. We were deployed in the Svetlodarsk Bulge. There was like this Svetlodarsk reservoir. And we had our positions on one side of this reservoir. On the other side, there were Russians and pro-Russians. And our sergeant, I forgot the position. Oh my god. Anyways, so our electrician and our chief sergeant arrived to the position in order to bring new cord, because we had electricity, but it was always not enough because of the cord. We used the telephone cord from that Tapik, the field telephone, and it was really bad. It wasn't enough to boil water. It wasn't enough to play World of Tanks on a PC. I mean, how can you even fight if you cannot play computer games in your range? It's awful. It's awful. Our fridge didn't work, and we always had, like, warm Coca-Cola. It sucks. On the front lines, it sucks. So he brought a new cord and like new wire, and he attached it to the power source, and he attached the other side, the other end of this wire, to the position that unfortunately wasn't mine. It was another position. So I woke up to the sound of my radio stations signalizing that they are dying, and I decided to help our guys to bring another wire and electrify my position. As we were doing that, we noticed a drone, and it took off from behind like the tree line. And that sergeant, he was a good friend of mine. I liked him because he was a vegetarian, and in those MREs that we have that we had back then in the Ukrainian army, we had a can of meat, and it's very, very tasty. I like it so much. And because he was a vegetarian, he would often give me that meat, so we were friends. And he was like, "Can you shoot it down?" I'm like, I guess. He's like, "I don't think you can." I'm like, "Check this out." So I take my rifle. I think I made like 5 shots at max, and this quadricopter is like, this drone is like, "Zzz," and it falls down behind the tree line. So we rushed towards this drone, and while running towards the drone, I was imagining like probably that we will pick up the card, the SD card with all the information and stuff. Probably we will even be awarded. Why not? But there was a problem. It was a Ukrainian drone. And it was the only working drone in a brigade that we were attached to. So yeah, after that, my last name, it was attached to the board in our anti-air battalion. In their headquarters, we had this board, and we had numerous patches and logos attached there. And my name was honorably attached to this board because I was the first soldier, first NCO basically in my brigade, who successfully shut down a drone. Unfortunately, it wasn't a hostile drone. But anyways, who cares? I don't care.
While you were talking and telling the story, I actually read the chat. So you guys are a lot funnier than I am. I'm telling you right away. But I noticed two interesting comments. The first one is that I need to address, and then the second one will be a question for you, Starsky. So the first one is why we cannot project the same kind of situation that's happening right now with mobilization to what happened in Afghanistan, because Afghanistan, like a lot of the historians saying, one of the big things that kind of brought down the war of Afghanistan and became unpopular was the protest against the war of Afghanistan. There are a couple important differences. Firstly, war in Afghanistan, while most bloody for the Russians for a very long time, was a 10-year effort. It was a long war. It was something that just dragged on and on and on and on and on and on. Secondly, it happened between 79 and 89. So I had to Google that just now. I'm not that smart. But the point is that it was overlaying on a lot of the internal problems that the country had for almost a decade. This was the worst decade for the Soviet Union. So we cannot say that this situation right now that's happening in Russia is going to bring any kind of changes very, very quickly. That's just not what's going to happen. You should not expect it. Moreover, the Russians are only now sending some kind of mobilized conscripts. Like before, it was only volunteers fighting. And well, as much as I hate to admit it, but the Russians have a lot of meat they can send to meat grinder. And the unfortunate part is that even if one of those 10 people that gets there to get killed, if they shot a mortar or a long-range artillery, one of that pieces can hit a civilian or a Ukrainian fighter. That is the comment. Do you want to add anything, Starsky, to that?
I agree. I completely agree.
Yeah. Then the question for you is, someone smartly asked, like, when are you going to ask Zelensky? And that's obviously silly, but I think a lot more actual news in now that we got some good news yesterday. And if you didn't get, are you getting them now? Some of the Azovstal defenders got free. When are you getting someone on this show?
Yeah, so some of my friends were exchanged as well. It's rare thing to have friends among Azov guys because they are very close community, and we had a lot of quarrels with those guys because they're also part of the National Guard, and whenever we would post our videos, for example, online, they would always comment like, that brigade sucks, come join Azov and yeah, let's rock together. And I was like, no, don't do this. You're ruining all of my work. But they're heroes. They they are. And I'm really happy that they were exchanged. Unfortunately, not all of them. We expect it to happen, and we traded Medvedchuk. I mentioned Medvedchuk in one of my videos, probably the one dedicated to the Russian world. I'm not sure, but he deserves it. Probably he will be sucked into an open window at some point.
I'm
Something
really
tells
happy
me.
that I'm really happy that the charges haven't been dropped to him. He's been given out to Russia, yes, but he's still considered criminal that needs prosecution in Ukraine. So that is
Yeah,
a big plus.
yeah, and that's a good thing. But he knows too much, and he told us too much. So probably, yeah, he will be sucked out into an open window because open windows in Russia, they work like this black hole. You cannot defend yourself from the gravity of a Russian window. You will get sucked out completely, instantly. Yeah. So, uh, what is your favorite place in Ukraine?
Depends what. Like, I'm a foodie. Like, I love really good food. Ukraine has a lot of really good. Well, Chernigiv had a lot of interesting and good places. Not many of them survived, but some of them did. So Chernigiv is definitely interesting, and it was kind of like a new flow. So like. It doesn't have a lot of those restaurants, that just been there for a while, and was a lot of new things opening. If we're talking food, then my favorite place right now in Ukraine is obviously Lviv. Lviv is a super highly competitive scene for restaurants. Like, whoever is visiting Ukraine and is a foodie, you go to Lviv, you're gonna be mind blown, because the competition in Lviv is so tight and narrow. Like, the way that they essentially need to be good is extremely high, and the level of the restaurants is nothing I've ever seen in Europe at all. Like, maybe some of the bigger cities like Berlin can compare, maybe a little bit, but the point of Lviv, it's also not a very, how do you say, not, well, at least the kind of the touristy part of the city is not very big. So the amount of restaurants per square kilometer in Lviv is just mind blowing, and each and single one of those restaurants, well, maybe okay, one in 50 will be somewhat okay, and then the other one is just mind-blowing. Every single one has their own concept, art. Like, go in, there's going to be installation, specific dishes. They're going to be specializing in something. They're going to have specific wines or specific eateries. Lviv is completely mind-blowing, and it's a complete compared to everything else in the country where you go with like traditional food. Lviv is like a hot spot for that. That's the food wise. Second wise, if you're more of a nature guy, then obviously I was to the Carpathian mountains. And the interesting part in the Ukrainian Carpathian Mountains is obviously the railroad. To get, like, we went to the place that's called Kvasy. It somewhat became like a meme or a popular destination but the point is, there's not much thing to do in Kvasy. What you can do, though, is very cheaply rent like a house, like an actual house you can live in, and then you live in this mountain village. And to get to that mountain village, you usually land in Kyiv, and then you would take an overnight train, and then the next morning after overnight you wake up and you see these old mountain passes. And this has some kind of this romantic, like, I always think like something like Harry Potter style, where you're just traveling train, and then all of these nature views that are passing you by. If you've been to Norway, probably not comparable, but then again, Norway doesn't really have this romantic train lines. It's mostly people are traveling by the airports. In Ukraine, the trains are very cool, and I definitely recommend you, when you travel to Ukraine, use a train for your travels. So those are the two things that I think I would mention as a nature and a foodie. Like, Kyiv is obviously cool, but that's the capital. Like, I think every capital is a quite a packed thing. Obviously Chernigiv, but reasons.
Yeah, yeah. There's places like Uzhgorod. Um, Uzhgorod is our most western city, so to say. They have a very special cuisine. They have this raw meat called the Tatar steak. It's a raw meat. You put an egg inside of it, the yellow part of the egg. Then there's pepper, red pepper, black pepper, salt, ketchup, onion, and garlic around this meat. You take 2 forks, mix everything into a fine paste. Then you take this black bread, throw it just briefly on a frying pan, and then you put this paste on a bread and eat it while the bread is still hot. It's delicious. You gotta have guts to eat raw meat, but because it's so full of different spices and salt and stuff, you will barely have some kind of uh, don't cry, please.
No, it's because like someone mentioned that's like you can call it now Russian military steak. So
Uh, basically, yeah. Basically, yeah.
uh, just because the process is so similar. Yeah. But definitely, and obviously, if you visit Ukraine, if you don't try Salo, I don't even know what you're doing in this life.
You gotta
Like
try Salo.
it's the weirdest dish ever, because when someone describes it to you, it says like, oh, it's a pork fat, like pork like lard. It sounds like, well, what can it be? But then when you try it, you're like, it's the one of the best things you can try in the world. I seriously, the thing is super underrated. I mean, like everyone who's been to Ukraine and tried it says it's really good. Like this is especially important because for us Westerners, because very often Westerners don't really like a lot of the Eastern European food. That's just normal. However, a lot of my Western friends that have tried Salo are completely mind blown by how delicious it is. So absolutely a must. Do not mix it. Do not miss it. Otherwise, that's just like, what are you doing with your life?
To those who don't understand, Salo is something similar to bacon. Something similar. The difference is that you don't prepare it, but you salt it. You make it salty, and you have to consume it while it's cold. You have to slice like very very thin slices of it, and it's very salty. And you gotta have something like garlic, probably a glass of horilka or something like that. Some beverage, and pickles.
Yes.
Oh my god, I'm so hungry.
Yeah. I mean, like there is this also this cherry drink, which came I think from Lviv, and it's super cheap. And like I'm a sucker for cheap things. My wife hates it so much. So like there is this super cheap cherry drink that became super popular, and it's a big like Ukrainian socializing culture.
Yeah,
Like whenever like there is a night out or evening, so they usually have this small place where there's basically like an entrance, like 1 meter, and there is a bar. That's it. Like this is like 1 by 1 meter place. There is nothing else, and then just like pour you like this cherry drink, and it's either hot or it's kind of, well, cold, normal room temperature, and people love it. And they just usually would just have some tables outside, and there would be like a crowd of Ukrainians just gathering around, and they would talk. And I was like always fascinated by these things, and I was always like say to my wife, hey, can I try this? And she's like, no, this is like why would you do this? Like, why would, this is like a cheap stuff, this is like for peasants, why? And I was like, but I want to. And then she would finally crack. I think it was last time I just said like, well, I just need to. And then I have it, and it was one of the best things I've tried, and it was super nice. I took the warm one. It was kind of colder day, so definitely a must. I think it's called Piana Vishnya.
Piana Vishnya, yes. And
Piana Vishnya.
I wouldn't say that it's like for peasants, because all kinds of hipsters visit Piana Vishnya. Everybody who likes to have some nice drink, and it's kind of, I'm not sure if you find it strong. To me, it is strong because I almost don't drink at all. But you can mix it with Coca-Cola. I'm not advertising. I'm just, and it tastes so. It's like Dr. Pepper with an alcohol, but much more cooler than that. It's amazing. You gotta try it. Is there a cheese culture in Ukraine? Yes, absolutely. We have different types of cheese. Uh, there's brinza. Brinza is a very popular cheese that is made in like villages. Not a big fan. I'm a fan of stuff like mm, hard cheese, solid cheese, Holland cheese.
like
Anyways,
like a hard cheese. I mean, it is hard
hard
cheese.
cheese, hard cheese. And we have that too. We have Pyryatin cheese that comes with sunflower seeds, by the way. You gotta try it. Gouda, yeah. And by the way, buddy, there was a question that I'm sure you can definitely answer. Do you speak Danish language?
Yes. Ja. Det er selvfølgelig, jeg kan snakke dansk. Det er ikke det er stadig ikke på den gode niveau, men jeg skal have min PD3 i november, og så bagefter vi skal se, hvis I er god nok eller ej. So that's what I can tell about my Danish. It's pretty shit. Let's put it this way.
I completely support what you said, even I didn't understand the word. Yeah. What are the local at home spirits? What are the local at home spirits? Body, I don't understand your question. I'm sorry. My English is bad today. So Krampus CT says, I like brinza till I found out how it's made. So probably I'm not as crazy because I don't like brinza. I don't know how it's made. What's your favorite cheese, by the way?
Uh, what is it called? There's a Danon, like it Dan Blue. Like there we go. I remember
Dor
Dan
blue.
Blue. No. Dan Blue.
Dan blue.
Danish blue cheese. It's one of the
Ah,
cheapest cheese you can get here in the shops. Well, I mean, you can get more expensive versions, but it's like the Danish version. It's a lot more sharp, let's put it this way, and I really enjoy that. So it's a very, very sharp blue cheese that you can get in Denmark. But there's also other very good cheese. I'm a big fan of the like cheeses with a lot of how do you say mold on them. That's
yeah,
my kind.
yeah.
That's kind of my kind of role.
Yeah, moldy cheese like gorgonzola. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
fantastic.
gorgonzola. Yeah, that's pretty nice. Gorgonzola is very nice. Did you know, by the way, like something that a lot of Ukrainians don't know, and I'm gonna surprise you. Did you know that in Europe the cheeses very often are considered to be dessert? So they
No
are
way.
often served at the end of the meal, and they would be served with like jam or something sweet, and then you would eat cheeses with something sweet as well. So a lot of my Ukrainian friends didn't know that, so which is sometimes very obvious for a lot of us, but my wife was surprised.
Seriously?
Yes, yes.
Huh. I cannot imagine like gorgonzola with jam.
It is super good. You should try it. Like take some kind of nice, a little bit sweet jam, especially like the ones that are made like pickles by the grandmas. Those are the best. There's like the babushka jam. Those are the must have. But let's stop at this. Like as I said, I'm a foodie. I can talk about food a lot. Let's come back to what people watch me for because I'm pretty sure everyone already kind of like what like where is like can you talk about dead Russians or Russian opposition already, despite us talking about this for half of the time.
Loki says that your Danish is pretty good. Can you speak more languages instead of besides Danish, Latvian, and swearing in Russian?
I mean, я розмовляю трохи українською. Я говорю немножко по-русски. I speak English, obviously, because that's my study language. Ja Itaļdansk, that's Danish, and es runāju arī latviski diezgan labi, jo tā ir mana dzimtā valoda. That's the Latvian. So, I guess 5 so far.
Amazing.
It's not unfortunately too much, especially my Ukrainian. My wife doesn't want to speak Ukrainian to me because we get a complete mess at our home. When she came, she wasn't really that great at speaking English at all. Her English wasn't that great, so we kind of just got used to it. So I spoke in English to her, and she over time just got used to it and started speaking as well. So now she's perfectly fluent in English. The problem is now if we also introduce Ukrainian, we're going to have like a whole 3 languages that we need to juggle because we're trying to switch to Danish as well. So it's going to become a real weird mess of languages. So we are for now, yes, suka blat. Yes, I know that. I know that.
Yeah.
Polish. O kurwa.
Ja pierdolę.
That's about though because I started learning Ukrainian, I was actually able to read some of the Polish descriptions on some of my appliances inside that I ordered. Definitely not because they were about half a price here in Denmark.
I like to. I enjoy hearing Polish people swearing. It's a culture. It's a culture. I lived in Poland for like a year, Oh my god, they're so good at it.
I have something that I know in Lithuanian, and Lithuanians are probably going to ruffle right now. Some of my friends taught me some Lithuanian, and it goes something like this: Trys kekšas kampe čiulpė bibi nežinia. I hope it was good enough.
What does it mean?
I actually not completely sure, but apparently Lithuanians like it. So let's leave it at that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was a bit taught by Polish how to swear, but I'm not as good as they are because you have to be born with this skill. They are awesome at this, especially because I know a lot of like Polish construction workers, like tough guys. They do it perfectly. I literally enjoy when they swear. It's awesome. Um, so what we have here, and do I have more questions for you? By the way, oh, that's an interesting one. Are there any Russian bloggers that you like watching, and what's your opinion on them?
Not, I can't. I just can't watch Russian bloggers. I just because most of them at some point just crack. It's like I'm pretty sure there are like because this is the world, and pretty sure there are weirdos like this at some point. But most of the Russian bloggers at some point they just start cracking. Like either when it comes to like the Soviet Union and how wonderful it was, or sometimes it's like just goes or like you watch the blogger and it's like 95% of what he's saying is good. And then like he says like something like, the Baltics were never real countries. Like randomly, it's like I mean like you were not telling anything about this, like why suddenly you have this opinion, or or very common is like, oh yeah, we were always brothers with Ukrainians, we always treated them good. Yeah, and like like and denial of the fact that Russia is maybe not the best country in the world, though thankfully now it's kind of going away. So it's always like something small. Like there are bloggers that I know also support Ukraine and like against the war, but for me it's not the only thing. Like very often I would start listening to them, and then like some kind of like either imperialism or some kind of that like propaganda piece that they just heard somewhere and they believed it, like like all these stories, what is called the 28 Panfilov fighters or some shit like that, the Russian propaganda stuff that
Yeah,
Holodomor never happened randomly or
yeah,
something like this. And that completely triggers me. Like it's because not that because persons cannot be wrong, like everyone can be wrong, like I am wrong all the time, like at least that's my wife what says to me. But the point is that there are Russians, and a lot of what they're saying matters because that is a lot of the things that why we have this war. And that just saddens me to the fact that what they're saying is just bringing more and more suffering, and I just cannot listen to them. And with all the respects that the one of all the ones that are supporting Ukraine, and not saying that they should protest, but instead saying that they should join the Freedom for Russia Legion and fight the Putin regime. So I don't watch Russian bloggers. No.
I agree on that. It's like sometimes I think that those people probably have some kind of this Tourette syndrome or something like that, because you can see a completely sane person, which is like, yeah, we have problems here in Russia. Of course, I would like to be able to travel around the world and meet people, and I don't support violence and stuff. Yeah, Ukrainians are nice people. I absolutely love them. I always thought that they're my. I should say it with my brand Russian accent. And I always supported Ukrainians. They are my brothers. They always were. I have relatives in Ukraine, and I completely support them. But their freaking revolution was completely staged by that American Zionist Nazi, and you go like you were almost sleeping listening to this, and then like, what? What did you say? What did you say? And then he continues, like everything was okay. Like, yeah, I've been to the United States, completely nice country, and Ukraine, of course. I like Salo, and yeah. Like, what the hell? So I try to watch a bunch of Russian bloggers. Again, I have to, but it's not. It's hard to watch Russian bloggers for a very simple reason. They go, "Good day. Today I would like to talk about the situation here in Russia and Ukraine. Unfortunately, I cannot talk much about it because I will be arrested. Um, Bad things will happen to me. And that's why I don't want to call this what happens. I will make a secret gesture. It will be like. So, today we will talk about. My opinion is that I cannot tell you much about my opinion. I asked some people on the streets, you will like it. And he's like, good day. What do you think about what happens in Ukraine? And he's like, they don't talk. They don't speak out words. It's horrible to watch, guys. You don't do blogs like that. You have to speak letters and produce sounds. I don't understand what your means. It's a freaking war. Call it, say it, or don't start doing your blogs whatsoever. Sorry. Uh, that's why I don't watch them usually.
Yeah. I mean, that's very accurate. That's pretty much Russian blogger in a nutshell. I actually saw your skits about this. I think you made it
I
like a what I call it,
I
short.
couldn't hold, bro. I couldn't hold myself. It's ridiculous. You don't have to have a blog. You can just sit and smile on a camera. That's all. Put your three-colored flag and call it Free Russian. It hurts me because I went through a revolution of dignity. That's why it hurts me.
Comment. John Staley asks thoughts on the new Bayraktar jet motor 90 kph 12-kilometer altitude. When it starts killing Russians, I will be cheering for it.
I'm not sure if it's a jet motor. I'm not sure if it didn't look on a picture as like a jet motor, but I assume that it probably could have such a speed. We gotta check it out because probably like either it was the wrong picture. We gotta learn more about it. So let me even Google this for you. Bayraktar motor siege engine.
Is the true Russian number target 300,000 or 1 million something else? There is no defined Russian number. Apparently, someone is spreading the information that wow, our secret source has revealed that the point number 7 that is hidden and absent from the text of the document actually talks about the number of people that's supposed to be mobilized. And the point is that the whole text doesn't talk about any criteria at all. It can be 300,000, it can be 1 million, it doesn't matter. Like the point is, the mobilization is called, and apparently it's going to be called in waves. I would not put a number at all because once the first million ends, then they're going to call more. So at this point, we need to understand that this is the floodgates opening. So they're going to be mobilizing more and more and more and more and more. This is just new configuration of war. There is not going to be upper limit. So don't worry about the number. It's not going to end.
I agree on that. They have those hidden paragraphs that basically let them hire as much as they need.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's a little bit like wondering me is like who cares? Like if it's 300,000 or a million and so on, they're just gonna send more. Yes, this is just the reality. Like, why are we expecting anything from the Russians? They're not gonna make it easy.
yeah,
Get more
and
nukes. Not get send more missiles to Ukraine. Support Ukraine. Get more
yeah,
weapons into Ukraine. That's the only best. It's like armed forces of Ukraine are the best negotiation tactic against Russia. There it is.
absolutely. And here you can see, instead of my face sitting on my nose, is a new oh my god, Russian Bayraktar. Something that now happens. A new Turkish Bayraktar that has a jet engine, and obviously that picture that I posted in my YouTube doesn't really correspond to the reality. Thank you for mentioning about it. Yeah, because I thought that, yeah, the speed of 900 kilometers per hour with a propeller engine, it's kind of strange. However, some of the airplanes, for example, Dash 8 Q400 Bombardier, they have quite a high speed. And I thought that probably like a drone that doesn't require a presence of a pilot can fly like that. No, they were talking specifically about this beautiful jet drone that was presented in Turkey, and yeah, it has a jet engine. It has a tremendous speed. Hopefully, it will be used by us as well, because this drone also has a Ukrainian engine, and it's beautiful. Do you like aviation?
No, no, not a big fan. Like I was never a big fan of like military things or vehicles. Like I don't even like cars. Oh, now the hate is gonna come. Cars don't like, and I know what people say. Yeah, I don't like cars. I don't have a license. I'm riding a bicycle. Like that. That's why I'm one of the reasons why I live in Denmark. So shame me all you want, but I'm gonna come to your city. I'm gonna drive all day long on your public transport system, and we'll see what you say next.
I mean, I would drive bicycle. I did, by the way. And I even found a really nice bicycle road designed in Kiev. It's located in some really sketchy district of Kiev, unfortunately, but it's real nice. It's basically the whole lane that can be used by public transportation, like buses and bicycles. So you have like a whole lane. It's amazing. Um,
Yeah,
and yeah, WHSSI says that you are a true Dane. Cars suck. I am a bike mechanic in Denmark.
nice. I wish I would have even a split part of the Danish blood. Unfortunately, I don't. Like I have a lot of different bloods. That's why for me like it's very hard to write anything coherent in the like the nationality field, because in Latvia we still have the nationality part, and it's always something inconsistent just because I have so much weird mix of blood. I don't even know. Like it's like when you can track at least 8 different cultures, you're gonna start questioning. So do I just like throw a coin, or like roll a die, or it's like how is this imagined by the Latvian government? So sometimes it's just confusing because obviously I feel myself Latvian and so on. So, but that's beyond the point.
Do they have those electric bikes over there? Asks just some guy.
Those electric bikes, what does it? I
Electric
don't know.
bikes.
I mean, yes, but aren't they like everywhere? I thought electric bikes like everywhere now.
We have a lot of them here.
Yeah,
I
that's what I'm thinking.
I remember a very cringy story from Ukraine. So it was during the dawn of those electric bikes and those Segways and stuff. They were introduced in Ukraine. And of course, there are different people. There are people who use those bikes as they're supposed to be used. And then there are some idiots who try to steal them. So one dude stole the electric bike with the GPS attached to it. He made all the way on a train, all the way to his village. I saw this picture. He went off the train with the bike directly to the police guys who were like, "Hi, man, come here." How stupid can you be? Like, probably he was like, it's crazy. Yeah, but modern technologies do wonders. Guys, we are approaching 2 hours and 30 minutes of our stream. I think that a lot of our friends and viewers are pretty much tired of watching our ugly faces here. But I completely like the idea to continue on your channel sometime.
Yeah, sure. Let's make a video. Let's just do it, and that's great.
Awesome. Guys, I think we will be finishing our stream. It took too long. It
It's
was
fine.
very nice to see you guys. And of course, it was my big pleasure to invite Ukraine Matters to my channel. Uh, Big fan from the very beginning, very start of your channel. And we can expect some collaborations in the future.
Perfect. Looking
Yeah,
forward. Like, I mean, I love your guests. Like, I want to give a shout out to all of your guests so far, and probably in the future. Like, as I say, like my only credible thing, at least in a YouTube sphere, where like the personal achievement, like in a kind of some kind of proficiency, is oftentimes what defines a certain channel types. Like, I'm just a guy that just started talking about stuff. Don't feel that I have a lot of expertise in things. So for me, it's always very interesting to see your guests that are very often very proficient. So, and that is really, really exciting. I hope your channel stays strong, and I'm really looking forward for that beer that you promised me.
sure. The beer is on me, of course, and don't argue with me. And traditionally, bro, probably you have something to say to our Ukrainian viewers and the viewers of the free world.
I mean, to Ukrainians, I don't have enough words. Uh, one of the things that like someone from my Ukrainian friend asked me was why would you do this? Like, why do you need like a YouTube channel and so on? Well, besides the obvious fact, but it was because I was thinking about all of the suffering, like all of these children. Like, I would feel desperation that there is this murder, like children are dying, women are dying, innocents are dying, heroes of Ukraine are dying. And like, there's a picture that I always paint in my mind about how would I, for example, sleep at some point at night and there would be an explosion, and like I literally feel it, how I would fall down and then be buried by rubble, and just laying there with just feeling pain, suffering, and hearing maybe some other people screaming, and just slowly feel how my life flows away from my body. This is the picture where I paint for myself. And then I see some kind of Russian news channels and so on, where they're denying this, where they are talking about how this is all fake, and because there's like some people with Nazi tattoos in Ukraine, that means that it's okay to destroy cities. And that desperation, that thing that before used to drive me to the fact that I wanted to put my hands down, put it above my head, and just start crying about saying like, how could you? Seeing how they lie and how they send people with the money, how they send prisoners, it turns to anger and hatred. And this just brings me to the fact that I must do something. I am just forced to do something. The fact that I'm doing this YouTube channel and trying to send some money, like doing anything even, is the thing that I just must do it. There is no other way by this point. So my only words to my Ukrainian people is like just to hold on. I know that it's very hard. It's a lot harder than it is for me, but we're trying to do something. And my only ask for people watching us, support. Please do not forget about Ukraine. Send your support. Support with anything you can, even a word, a message, anything. Send to your anything. I just want to share some of that motivation for me to do my channel to you guys, to not only follow and see, but also act. So support Ukraine, because Ukraine really is important and it matters both for the country itself, for the people, and for us at the West as a democracy at large.
Thank you so much, bro. Very, very inspiring and very touching. And I feel happy that I have such friends as you, and I'm happy that my country is supported by such people like you. Because before, I started accepting commentaries from around the world, I never knew that the world is so much full of decent people. And yeah, thank you so much for your speech. And guys, it was a big pleasure to have you tonight. We will continue sometime on the channel called Ukraine Matters. Please subscribe. Don't forget that. And we will see you in the next one. My name is Operator Starsky, and my good buddy Ukraine Matters from Denmark. Bye bye.